Freedom has always been presented as the ultimate gift, a promise of endless possibilities. Yet the reality is far darker than anyone ever admits, hiding invisible chains that subtly shape every choice you think you make. From the very beginning, the system was designed not to liberate you, but to convince you that your decisions matter, while in truth, every path you take has already been carefully prepared by those who control the rules of society. You grow up believing that freedom is your natural state, yet every institution, every law, and every social expectation has been crafted to keep you compliant, obedient, and unaware that your autonomy has been stolen from you. The word freedom is constantly used to inspire, to motivate, and to promise salvation. But it is also manipulated as a weapon to distract you from noticing the restrictions that quietly govern your life, molding your thoughts without consent. The most dangerous secret they hide is deceptively simple. You have never truly been free, and the illusion of choice you cling to is a carefully constructed stage where every option is predetermined to maintain their control. They do not want you to see the invisible walls that confine you, because the moment you recognize them, the power structure that relies on your ignorance begins to crumble, and suddenly, the world you thought was safe feels fragile and uncertain. The chains of control are not made of metal or force. They exist in your mind, in the patterns of your beliefs, in the unquestioned routines that guide your life, trapping you in a cage you cannot see but cannot escape from either. Since childhood, you have been conditioned to accept limits without question, to follow authority without challenge, and to believe that the world functions according to fairness and justice, when in reality, it functions according to invisible agendas. The system does not punish openly. It manipulates silently, shaping your perception through fear, social pressure, and subtle incentives, ensuring that rebellion is rare and fleeting, and that most remain compliant without realizing it. You are taught that independence is possible, yet every lesson, every piece of knowledge is filtered and framed in ways that guide you toward choices that serve the interests of those in power rather than your own. Freedom has been twisted into a concept you can admire, a symbol you can raise, and a phrase you can repeat, but it rarely translates into true liberation, leaving most to unknowingly participate in their own subjugation. They whisper promises of liberty while constructing invisible barriers around your mind, convincing you that compliance is choice, obedience is wisdom, and conformity is the only path to survival in a world that pretends to reward individuality. The illusion of control is everywhere. Every career path, every social expectation, every political narrative is carefully designed to channel your actions, ensuring that you feel powerful while your options remain restricted behind unseen boundaries. You defend the freedom you think you have, believing it is real, yet in doing so, you protect the very mechanisms that keep you trapped, unaware that your loyalty and effort sustain a system built to manipulate rather than liberate. Every law, every policy, every cultural norm has been engineered to teach obedience, to guide your behavior, and to ensure that the boundaries of freedom never expand beyond what they deem acceptable, keeping you comfortable within invisible chains. Even your perception of rebellion is controlled. Dissent is framed, resistance is commodified, and any attempt to break free is absorbed into the system, transformed into spectacle, and rendered harmless, leaving true liberation as an ever-distant dream. The moment you begin to question the structure, the illusion starts to crack, revealing the hidden hands that shape your world and the invisible strings that have guided your every action since childhood. Every narrative you have been fed, every story you have believed is designed to distract you, to entertain you, and to pacify you, while the truth remains buried beneath layers of carefully constructed deception. The powers that be manipulate emotions, fears, and desires, creating a society where compliance feels natural and rebellion feels dangerous, ensuring that most never even consider the possibility of true freedom. You are taught to admire liberty, yet the lessons are hollow, designed to make you repeat the words without ever understanding the substance, leaving you comforted by symbols while reality is tightly controlled. Freedom has been redefined to fit their purposes, twisted into a performance where you are a participant in your own subjugation, applauding a system that limits your choices while pretending to expand them. The invisible chains tighten as you grow older, disguised as responsibility, necessity, and practicality, convincing you that the boundaries of your life are natural, inevitable, and unchangeable. Education, media, and culture are not neutral. They are tools meticulously crafted to guide your thoughts, shape your beliefs, and ensure that your perception of freedom aligns perfectly with their agenda. Even your passions are monitored, your ambitions subtly redirected, and your desires filtered, so that every pursuit serves the system's goals, leaving true autonomy as a rare and dangerous commodity. They encourage debates, discussions, and arguments, yet every topic has boundaries. Every conversation is framed, and every conclusion subtly influenced, creating the illusion of choice without its reality. The truth they hide is that power thrives not in oppression alone, but in convincing the oppressed that they are free, that their consent is genuine, and that the cage they inhabit is in fact a sanctuary. Every political slogan, every campaign, every rally reinforces compliance, giving the impression of action while actual change remains impossible, keeping the masses distracted and the system secure. Even social media is a battlefield of manipulation, feeding you ideas and opinions that feel personal but are carefully curated, designed to guide thought, provoke emotion, and enforce conformity without force. You are conditioned to believe that questioning is dangerous, that dissent is socially costly, and that straying from accepted norms is reckless, ensuring that fear, not chains, keeps you under control. The notion of freedom is thus transformed into a performance, a script you follow without realizing, a dance with invisible walls, where stepping out of line is always monitored and subtly punished. History itself is curated, sanitized, and rewritten, teaching compliance as wisdom, presenting obedience as virtue, and glorifying the system while hiding the mechanisms of control that sustain it. Even your identity is shaped by these forces, your values molded, your loyalties directed, ensuring that your life unfolds in ways that protect the system and reinforce the illusion of choice. The world outside your mind appears chaotic and threatening, but the real danger is internal, in the unseen structures, the programmed thoughts, and the subtle boundaries that govern every decision you think is yours. True freedom has been rendered almost mythical, a concept discussed in theory but denied in practice, leaving most to accept the illusion while believing they are the masters of their own destiny. The moment you see the chains, the walls, and the scripted reality, a choice emerges. Accept the illusion or break through, risking fear, uncertainty, and isolation, but stepping toward genuine autonomy. Awareness is the first act of rebellion, understanding the system the second, and choosing to act outside of its constraints is the most dangerous, liberating, and transformative step you can ever take. They fear the awakened mind because it cannot be controlled, cannot be placated, and cannot be distracted, revealing the fragility of a system that relies on ignorance, complacency, and unquestioning obedience. Every strategy, every law, every narrative is designed to make compliance feel comfortable, to normalize limitation, and to convince you that the boundaries of freedom are natural, unchangeable, and unavoidable. Yet freedom is not granted by laws, governments, or systems. It is claimed by those willing to see the truth, challenge the narratives, and break free from the invisible chains imposed on their minds. The path to true freedom is not easy, and most will resist it, but the knowledge alone, the awareness of manipulation and control, begins to crack the illusion and reveal the reality that has always been hidden. They rely on distraction, on comfort, on repetition, on fear, and on subtle control to keep you blind, but once you see clearly, the illusion begins to crumble, and the power of your mind becomes the ultimate threat. Understanding the mechanisms of control is not enough. Action is required, courage, critical thinking, and a willingness to step into uncertainty, embracing freedom in its raw, unfiltered, and often terrifying reality. Every system, every institution, every tradition can be seen differently once the veil is lifted, revealing the contrast between the freedom you thought you had and the one you are finally ready to claim. True liberation begins when you stop fearing the truth, stop accepting narratives without question, and reclaim your mind from the subtle manipulations that have held you captive for a lifetime. The secret they hide is not a single law, policy, or person. It is the very structure of thought, the framework of control, and the carefully maintained illusion that keeps humanity obedient while believing it is free. Now, awareness has a price, but it is the only currency that truly matters, because once you recognize the system and its invisible chains, you can begin the journey toward a freedom that is real, terrifying, and utterly transformative. If you are ready to awaken, to see beyond the scripted reality, and to claim the freedom they never intended for you to have, then the first step is simple. Question everything, doubt the narratives, and never stop seeking the truth.